I've spent definitely the last 10 years of my life believing that in order to grow big muscles, which has been an aim of throughout my life, I need to have protein supplements. What do you think about that? I still have protein supplements in my house. Protein powders, come home from the gym, big scoop of protein, drink it. What do you think of that?
Protein is massively hyped. There are very few people who are protein deficient in this country and need supplements. There are a few, but I would say it's less than 5% of the population are not getting sufficient protein to perform either their normal activities or, like you, build muscle, because it's so inherent in our normal food. We evolved, to be omnivores and to get enough protein. And our ancestors didn't fall apart because we didn't get protein shakes. And I think the fact that we're focusing on protein is you and many others like you are a victim of marketing. That everywhere you look at the moment, protein is the thing that sells products. If it's got protein on the pack, it's, that's ringing of, oh, I need extra protein. And protein has this ring of only good about it. There's nothing bad about protein. It's like just going to get me big and strong, and I don't have to worry about calories or getting fat. I use it or lose it, and that's fine. And it's completely wrong. All the evidence is that most people are having nearly twice as much protein in their diets as they need for normal protein balance. And the only people that really need to worry are if you're elderly and you're not eating very much. Okay, so young people, generally like yourself, will be getting enough food that a percentage of all that food is going to contain protein. There's very few foods that don't contain protein. People don't think about it, but every time you're eating pasta or grains, you're eating protein. It doesn't have to be steak or eggs. But the elderly, if you're not eating, you've gone off your food, you're sick, you're on some medication, might need some extra protein sources or to focus on it. Or if you're a strict vegetarian or vegan, in that position where you're not eating much or you're sick or you're elderly, then those people do need something. Now, if you are a bodybuilder and again, you're trying to lose weight at the same time, then you might need some protein supplements. But if you're eating a normal diet, there's no evidence that the vast majority of people need any extra protein. They can get it all from normal food. And normal food, in my opinion, is a much better way of getting it because that's how our bodies have evolved, rather than getting it in a drink or a supplement or a powder, where it's often mixed with other chemicals. It's not in its natural form. We're not sure that it's all used. And the excess protein you have isn't for free. Protein gets broken down and it either gets eliminated in your body or it's stored as fat as it gets converted to sugars and then to fats. So people think of protein as only in muscle, and if it's not going to my muscle, I just pee it out, it doesn't matter. Not the case. If you're having lots of protein that you can't use up in your muscles because you've already got so much on board, you can't store it anywhere. Some of it gets eliminated, but most of it will be converted to sugars and fat.
This goes against everything they told me, because I thought that you could have as much protein as you like, your body can't store it, so I must just be like pooping it out or something. I don't know.
Can't store it as protein,
okay,
but it gets converted. It's
right,
broken down into small pieces, and that gets stored in your body for the future.
So how much protein can I process in like a day? How many grams of protein?
And how many kilos roughly are you weighing? About?
Oh, 90. I'm going to say 91 because there's people listening.
It's all muscle though.
Yeah.
So around roughly that amount of protein, because it goes with weight. The more your weight is, the more protein you need to repair your muscles and keep it going. So the official amount is normally around 0.8 grams per kilogram.
Okay.
So, but if we think, we want to be on the safe side. So most people 95% of people, that's a safe level but most people in this country are having like 1.4 grams per kilogram. So they'd be having, for you, over 100 grams of protein. And basically, if you don't anything extra, so you might do a little workout, that might increase it a little bit, maybe 10%. So you might be able to use 10% of that if you're doing a lot of weightlifting, etc. But not huge amounts. So if you took 300 grams of protein, most of it is just going to be either you'd be getting rid of it, excreting it in some way, or it would be converted into sugars and fats.
Stat I found here, the average daily intake of protein in the UK is 76 grams per day for adults aged 19 to 64 and 67 grams a day for adults aged 65 years and over. So that's how much on average people are consuming with their normal diets.
Yeah, so it's just roughly, depending on the size of people, it's just over a gram per kilo. And they're getting that without protein, most of them without protein powders, just from their normal diets. I mean, as an example, my normal breakfast gives me, I worked out, over 30 grams of protein, which is sort of what you want to kickstart the day in order to get muscles repairing and things. But if I took, an extra protein powder, give me an extra 100 grams, that really wouldn't have any effect at all, other than slightly increasing my weight.
What about fiber? I've got two questions here. What is fiber in the most simple terms? And why is it important? And are we consuming enough fiber in our natural diets in the UK?
So unlike protein, where 95% of people are absolutely fine and not deficient in protein, 95% of people are deficient in fiber. We think only about 1 in 20 people are getting enough fiber for good health. So this is the imbalance between the marketing. People just don't make money on fiber like they do on protein. So all the commerce is going to, everyone's protein deficient. You've got to have protein. Who's supporting the spinach or the fiber people? Hardly anybody. We're massively deficient in it. It is the bits of carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are made up of sugars, starches, and fibers. So fibers are the parts of carbohydrates that are not broken down and absorbed early on in the system. So they go through to the deeper parts of the intestine, they meet the microbes, and they have to be digested much slower, much lower down your system, and they're food for your gut microbes. And it could be soluble ones, there could be insoluble ones. They're just different degrees of how hard it is to break it down. And we used to think of it as roughage. It used to be called roughage. When I was a medical student and a junior doctor, you just eat this stuff, and it was just to clear out the toxins. It was just like you have this stuff, it scrapes your pipes and cleans it up. And that's all it was thought to do. But now we know it's absolutely crucial for health. The average in the UK is about 20 grams of fiber. So if you just increase that by a quarter, not very much, 5 grams, that's a handful of nuts or seeds or something a day, you will increase, or you reduce your risk of death by 15%. And if you did 2 handfuls of nuts, 30%. Each one, it goes up. So it has a dramatic effect on your longevity. And it's also important for avoiding cancers and mental health and nearly everything that we've looked at. So it's really the forgotten element of our diet that I think at the moment we're in a fiber crisis. We're certainly not in a protein crisis, and yet everyone's talking about protein. It's really a fascinating interplay between what the real problems are and what the marketing and the commerce of this whole field is. So we need to improve everybody's fiber amounts. All the healthy countries in the world are eating much more fiber, and it's also diverse fiber. It's lots of different things. It's not just having kale.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.